Hey everybody, it's Matt from Eastwood. We're here doing another live tech session in the Eastwood garage, the first of 2017. Thanks guys for checking in. If you haven't watched one of these before, we want it to be as interactive as possible. I want you to log on, join the chat, ask questions. We have Randy over here that does a lot of the videos as well.
Yeah, if you have any questions, post them. I'll try to answer them. If not, I'll throw someone back to Matt. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook.
So today we're going to do kind of a little New Year's maintenance. I've tried to get myself in a pattern every year of some few things I do in the beginning of the new year to tune up my tools, especially my metalworking tools that I use quite often. So I figured I'd show you guys a little quick tech session on tuning up some of your hammers and dollies. We have a couple over here from our Fairmount line. I brought a couple in, and we have a couple that are used pretty heavily in the shop. These, and I'll get one close for Joe so you can get a shot. But you can see on this hammer, it started out as a hammer that was partially polished, and over the past year of being used on the Camaro, the Corvair in the shop here, it's gotten a lot of residue on it. It's gotten, you know, some abrasion on it. And if you let this continue over time, this still isn't horrible, but if you let it continue over time, these imperfections are going to transfer into your metal when you're hammering on dolly, and you're going to be putting small little dents or marks in your panel as you're hammering on it, which obviously you're trying to do the opposite. So what I do each year is I go through all my hammers and I'll throw them in the vise like this, and I get our little, I love our little palm sander that we have that's good for jobs like this. So I'll take the little palm DA sander, and what I'll do is just do a quick, depending on how rough the hammer is. Now if you've let your hammers go really far where there's some deep gouges, you're gonna have to start with something more aggressive. I just have 120 in here because this isn't too bad on the DA sander. And then we're gonna work through the grits, and we'll show you the process here. So, got my glasses. And like I said, I'm just doing 180 grit, or 120, sorry, to start here. Sometimes if it's rougher, I'll start with 80 grit. And I'm just gonna go over the head of the hammer and work around the edges. And you can see that quick, this one wasn't too bad. We already started taking off all that black residue. If you see that there's like some deeper marks, I can see there's some little spots here where I might have hammered on something that was you know, a weld or something that put a little mark in it. So I'll keep sanding this to get that little mark out. Now the key is you don't want to be pressing real hard with a DA sander. Pretty much all these hammers, they have a slight radius to them. So if you start pressing too hard on the DA, you're going to actually change that radius of the hammer, and it may be uneven, which could cause a problem when you're trying to hammer on something. So I'm just barely pressing on it with this, with the 120 grit here. So I've got pretty much all of my imperfections out of this one. Worked pretty quickly. So the next one I have should be 220 here. Yes, I have a 220 grit here. We just have the hook and loop, which is really quick. You can reuse these. I like them myself personally over the sticky paper because I may use something quickly like that, and then you just put it back in the toolbox and you can reuse it again. So this is a piece of 220, and we'll go over it. So now I got pretty much all those imperfections are out now. I'm going around the edges of the hammer. Sometimes I found with the hammers you might get a little spot where you get a sharp edge, or you know, something, a nick that got in it that's creating a sharp edge, which again can transfer into your metal, so you don't want that to happen. So I'm working around the edge just a little bit to knock any of that out. Again, if you see a piece that's really offensive, you can take the 36 or 80, knock it down, and then come back, you know, just on that edge. So that was the 220 grit. I'm going to jump it up a little bit here to 400. And this is one you can see I was already doing some of my hammers already with this one. So 400. So we're getting most of our heavy scratches out now at this point. I'm starting to see it's getting fairly shiny, looking at the light. This is also great if you bought a new set of hammers, you got a set of Fairmount Hammers for Christmas, or the holidays. This is a good thing to do right after you get them. They are finely ground and they're a nice smooth finish when you get them. It's real easy. You can start with 400 grit because they're so nice out of the box. You can bring them up to a mirror polish pretty quickly, just going through 400 in these last few steps. But since this has been used a lot this year, this one needed some of the more aggressive grits. All right, so we got pretty much all our scratches out. Let's see, one little one there we'll hit again. All right, so that's looking pretty good there. And I'm gonna go just even a little further. And these last couple steps will be quick. So I'm gonna throw 600, and then I have, we offer some pretty fine grits for the DA sander, which is great for this. So this is 600 grit. Now's when you'll start to see it start seeing a little bit of a reflection in it. So we've got all our major DA scratches, that you can really see out of there that happen with the 220 and 120, 220. Now we're kind of getting into polishing a little bit. So I'm jumping a little bit here, but you can jump to like 800, or you can even jump up to like 1,000 grit, which we offer on a DA, which is nice. And I'm going to go in and you'll really start to see a polish come up now with this last DA step. So you can really see that last step. There's still some maybe tiny little scratches. If I would have went to 800, probably would have got those out. But with the DA, you can kind of jump steps a little more. That's polished up pretty good there. But I like to take it a little bit step further. So what we're going to do is move over to the buffer here, and I'll take it out of the device. Take it to the buffer. Now you can do the same steps to your dollies. If you have different dollies, this is our doorknob dolly that I use a lot. This is one I got to do. You can even see this one somehow over the past year. I've gotten a little nick put in it somehow. So I have to take a heavier sander there to work that out a little bit, work down. But you can do the same thing to your dollies. But I'm going to take this to the buffer. I'm going to start on the tightly woven side here, and I'm going to put a little bit of this is the emery. You can see they're usually marked, but this one's a real fast cutting compound. It's meant for harder metals. You can use it on stainless. You can use it on things that are hardened. So this is a little better for polishing these hammers because they're actually hardened. They're made of a little, it's not just the sheet metal or something like that. So put this on. This will do a little bit of cutting real quick. So I'm going to put a real light coat on here. So I got it at the low speed currently. Start 2-speed. And I'm just going to put a real light coat on here. You don't need to put your body weight into this. So I'm just putting a light amount on this wheel. And I'm going to load up the other side while we're at it, so then I can just go from, this is our white rouge. So this one's for kind of like a final polish on metal. You can even use it on some plastics as well. But this is one that's going to really give you that final nice mirror polish. It's quick and easy. I mean, these last 2 steps aren't necessarily mandatory, but if you want to take your stuff to the next level, make it really nice and shiny. If you're doing aluminum work, this is kind of a necessary step because you really need your hammers to be perfect when you're doing a lot of aluminum work. So I'm going to take this on a buffer. You want to work the bottom half of the buffer. We don't want to get behind because it's going to throw it across the room and through the drywall. But we're going to keep working on the bottom half so it's going down off of the hammer. Light pressure. I'm not really trying to, we did most of our work with the DA. So at this point I'm just kind of refining it. And you notice I'm only working kind of like the bottom half of the hammer. You can see that difference there already just in that little bit I polished. I'm working that bottom half because I don't want to tilt the hammer and catch this top edge and throw it on the ground. So I'm working the bottom edge, letting it work off of the hammer. I'll work the edges a little bit, like that. And then I'll flip the hammer over. And again, this is using our emery to give this initial polish on here. And just make sure I didn't miss any spots. I'll turn the hammer the opposite way real quick. Do a couple passes. All right, that's starting to look pretty awesome. Might be able to even see Joe in this. See his pretty face. So that's looking really good. So I'm just going to do a final little polish here on the loosely woven wheel. And this has got the white rouge on it for anybody that missed it. And this is just kind of doing our final polish. I'm going to flip it over. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any spots. Nothing crazy. I'm not pushing real hard. Just kind of letting the wheel do the work and the compound do the work. Looks awesome. That one came out really well. And you saw how quick that was. If your hammers aren't too horribly damaged, you do this every year. You can bring them up to a nice mirror polish. I do it at the beginning of the year. Works really well. You can do it to your dollies, but especially your hammers. But this gets a nice pure mirror polish in it. If you missed the kind of beginning steps, all I did was put it in the vise. I started with 120 grit. A little more. Other way. There we go. So we started with a 120 grit, and let me. I'm going to grab another one that we didn't do yet here, and we'll show you for anybody that missed kind of a before and after type deal. So that's where you start with after a year's worth of use, and that's what you can end up with. So because these hammers are nice quality made hammers, you can do a little bit of sanding on them. They're through hardened, so they're not just a surface hardened on these. So they are through hardened, so you can take a little bit of material off to polish them each time, and they're still going to hold up over time. But it's a pretty quick and easy little step. That's how we got this hammer. This is probably the one I use the most often, this shape, with this one coming in a close second. So we can go over those and do them just like that. Do we have any questions? I know it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, actually we got a question just about the hammers and dollies.
Sure.
One guy says he knows you're using wooden handled hammers. Is that a preference or between that and fiberglass handles?
So yeah, the wooden handles and fiberglass discussion is something that we get questions probably a lot in tech and customer service. In the end, it really comes down to a personal preference type thing. Wooden hammers, I feel, have a better feel to them. You can, when you're hitting, you can kind of feel it a little better. But the fiberglass is, as far as comfort goes, is a little better. The fiberglass handles, if you're rough on your tools, do hold up a little bit better. But I don't know, I like the wooden handles. I have some vintage hammers in my collection. They're also wooden handled, and it matches nicely. But it's all just personal preference. You really shouldn't be breaking handles on body hammers because you shouldn't be using them for knocking out rivets or old bolts or anything like that. You're putting stress on them. So the wooden handles work just fine. They just have a little more vibration to them when you're hitting. But I like that because I can feel it a little better and read the metal. So the other thing is, if you're just buying our hammer set and you're just thinking about which to get, one thing I'll mention is that our higher end, or I shouldn't say our higher end, our hammers with heavy curves to them, I would say are intermediate to pro hammer sets that have these special curves to them. They're only made with the wood handles. So if you're trying to match your tools, if you're into that, when you pull the drawer open, it all looks nice. They're only in wood handles, so you can buy the wood set and they'll all match. But they're all our Fairmount line. So good question. That's all we got for questions?
One more.
Oh, sure.
Corey on YouTube would like to know, what do you put on the hammer face to stop rust?
Okay. So Corey had a great question, and that's something that I kind of skipped over. I forgot. He asked what we do to put on the hammer face to stop rust from forming on the hammerhead. So there's a couple of things you can do. I've put, if you want to get real fancy, you could even, depending when you're using the hammer, you could even put a light coat of, like, if you just have it laying around, some rubbing compound or wax. You could just rub it on it real quick, and then before you use the hammer, use our pre and wipe it down. Another thing you can do is if you have like PB Blast or a penetrating type oil, you could put it on there and just leave it sit. If you don't use your hammers often, that's something you can do. I mean, I don't really have too much of an issue with rust on the hammers. I use them pretty often, so that's probably why. But you could put a coating on it, thin film. Just remember before you use them that you use our pre and wipe it down because you don't want to be hammering those oils or anything you put on it. We also offer a couple products that you can put on, but they're more of a paint type coating it's put on something meant to last, so they would take a little bit longer. Like our Diamond Clear is a good example. So I like to use something I can wipe off with pre really quickly. So you can use one of those type of things and that'll keep it from rusting. But they don't usually rust too quick, but it depends on your shop, the humidity level as well. That's a good one. Cool. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That's just a quick New Year's tech tip. If you have any ideas for future videos that you'd like to see, any type of products that you'd like to see us demonstrate, or a technique, drop us a comment. We're happy to add that to our list. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.